I'll just add this bell ringer on, and was it 2 days ago on Wednesday? I'll add that for next week. Okay. So make sure I remember that. All right. Okay. So the age of exploration, reasons for it, three G's. What were they again? Three G's. Bryce, go ahead. Yep, good job. God, gold, and glory. So we mentioned about the three G's already, especially on the test. This time you didn't have to really describe them, but on the test on one, you need two. Right? I know it's pretty basic. I know it's simple, but you have to understand why these European countries are looking to expand. Right? And like I mentioned, it's because Italy and the Ottoman Empire control the Mediterranean. They need to find a new route. Right now, with this age of exploration, these explorers searching all around the world, especially the New World. We mentioned about the Treaty of Tordesillas, how Portugal, right, they control the old world and all these routes to Asia. And then we mentioned a little bit about how Spain has control of the New World, right? And that is what we know as the Western Hemisphere, South America, Central America, North America, right? And how Spain has that control. One thing though that happened, you think England, France, you think they're just going to allow Spain to control that all for themselves? Why? No, not at all. And we mentioned quite a bit about that already. How England was trying to look for a northwest passage that cut through, right, that connected the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean to have access to the East Indies, to find a new route, a new way to reach these Asian markets. Okay, and we talked a little bit about how this set up the 13 colonies, and with these resources, these materials coming in, right, this leads us to this first term here, mercantilism. So what does mercantilism mean? What does that mean? So this is back to your presentation from last chapter. We talked about this on Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was on Tuesday. So what is mercantilism? What does that mean? Why? Go ahead. Okay, all right, so your wealth is built off and known off of what? What? What's your wealth built off of? Known off. So for England especially, England's an island, right? So they're dependent on these overseas characters. So with mercantilism, your wealth is known off of what?
No resources.
Oh, great work. You just totally redeemed yourself today. Awesome. Good job. So yeah, there are resources coming in and out. So we mentioned a little bit about the tobacco trade here with the 13 colonies. Eventually that would happen with England. Charlotte, you good? Yeah, you picked it up. You don't have your positive yet. You don't have your positive yet. All right, so anyway, with mercantilism, it's known by what resources obviously is going to know your wealth. And for England, they're going to have a lot of access to tobacco here, this trade that's going to indicate their wealth. And again, with wealth comes
Happiness.
and power. Yeah, okay, power, good. So like I mentioned, England, they're a small island. Do you think they have a lot of resources right here on a small island? No, right? They're dependent on these territories, these colonies that are going to be established all around the world. Specifically here in, obviously, North America. Eventually, there'll be a revolution fought there, and England won't have too much to control. But northern and parts of here in Canada, and have some possessions here in South America, Central America. Yeah, they will conquer pretty much the whole continent of Africa, which we'll mention here eventually towards the end of this chapter. They'll control India. They'll control what we know as parts of China, right? Australia, a lot of these islands here in the East Indies. So when you look at England, right, they're going to be really powerful and strong. And that power came from what war? Between England and who? Remember, this is out in the open water. And this Armada was defeated. Great. Spain, good job. Good job. Eventually, this is going to lead to capitalism, right? So we will talk about these enlightenment thinkers here soon, right, in this chapter, and how capitalism comes about. What is capitalism? David.
Isn't it like money?
Okay, money, yeah, all right. So money, folks, right? This is the private sector, these private industries. And we mentioned about charter companies already, right? We mentioned about these joint stock companies, right? Rather than the crowdfunding all these means of exploration and these colonies being established, why not just leave it up to the private sector? Why not let these wealthy individuals fund these projects, these forms of exploration, right? Because remember, with Spain, they threw everything they could, the crown, the government, at these forms of colonies and exploration. And what happened to them? They became bankrupt, right? They lost a lot of these possessions. England will eventually become the power dominant of the seas. And that will lead all the way up to what we know as World War I and World War II. So about 400 years, they controlled the seas. And obviously today, the United States is the most powerful navy in the world. And you can see, obviously, with the United States Navy, there's an alliance there. So overall, right, you can look at this time and see how mercantilism appears in capitalism, the private sector. And with that, it's going to lead to a movement for a higher standard of living. So these people are no longer focused in this feudal system anymore. Right? They're just moving away from it. These new enlightenment ideas are going to give people more freedoms, more liberties that they never experienced before. All right, any questions? Okay, so that's the direction we're moving. Real quick, before I get off the recording here, so I want to show you where to find this new chapter in modules. So you go to modules here. Okay, we just got done with chapter 2. I'm going to shrink it.
So this is going to be a new chapter, Absolute Monarchies, Enlightenment, and Revolution. So here is the slide for it, or the page. And you can see the objectives for this chapter, the purpose, the textbook chapters, and the presentations. I'll have more to add here. That's just what we're starting with. So if you want to follow along here with the notes, right, Bryce? You can just access this PowerPoint presentation. And if we read from the book, if it happens, not all the time, but you can have access here. Everybody clear with that? Okay, you know where to find. Austin. What's up, Austin?
Was the bellbender that we did today still on chapter 2?
No, we're going to move that to chapter 3. Yep.